Network Entertainment.
This episode may cover sensitive topics like sexual assault, domestic violence, and stalking, which could be triggering. While we recognize the challenges this content may pose, we advise you to prioritize your safety and well-being.
Shocking, sad, revealing, and deeply researched. PH Murder Stories podcast covers the true account of infamous killings and true crime stories from the Philippines.
There's no such thing as questions, just hidden answers. Stay tuned as we revisit the inconceivable crimes that exist.
Some listeners may find the following content of PH Murder Stories highly disturbing due to its graphic nature. PH Murder Stories does not condone nor promote violence of all sorts.
Viewer discretion is advised.
In the Philippine context, parricide refers to the crime of killing one's own parent, ascendant, grandparent, or great-grandparent, or other close relatives such as a child, spouse, or sibling, as specified under the Revised Penal Code of the Philippines. Specifically, Article 246 of the RPC defines parricide as the unlawful killing of a father, mother, child, or any of the direct descendants or ascendants or a spouse.
In our episode for today, we will tackle one of the least discussed parricide cases that happened in the 2010s. On November 28, 2012, the authorities discovered the body of 49-year-old Marilou Jorge in the trunk of her gold Honda Civic parked near her home in North Matrix Ville Subdivision, Caloocan City. Earlier that day, residents in the area complained to village officials about an unpleasant smell coming from what they described at the time as an abandoned vehicle. Little did they know at the time that the authorities would stumble upon a case that has more questions than answers.
You are listening to the PH Murder Stories podcast. This is the 4th episode of Season 5. We would like to thank our anonymous listener and fan of the show for suggesting this case through Instagram. To our listeners who would like to suggest a case, please send us a DM on Instagram or Facebook.
There's no background information about Marilou Jorge other than a report that said she was a retired private firm employee. What we also know is that this case circles around the victim, her husband, Jorge Jose Jorge Sr., and their son, Jorge Jose Jorge Jr. And yes, you heard that right. Both father and son have the same first name and last name.
The vehicle that was initially thought to be abandoned turned out to be the Jorge family's gold Honda Civic, just 4 blocks away from the victim's residence. When police arrived, they noted that the vehicle's doors were locked, necessitating the intervention of a locksmith to access the trunk. Once unlocked, the authorities discovered Marilou Jorge's body wearing a nightgown, with her hands bound behind her back with a wire taken from her own toolbox, and her head covered with a plastic bag. She also exhibited bruises on her head and face, but did not have visible fatal injuries at the time of discovery. Later on, the authorities would determine that the victim's cause of death was due to traumatic head injuries. The medical findings suggested that she may have died from hemorrhaging, and it was noted that she could have been deceased before being placed in the trunk of the family car.
Subsequently, the police proceeded to investigate this gruesome incident. Witnesses reported seeing the car where Marilou's lifeless body was found parked in the area around 3 a.m. on November 27, shortly before she was believed to have been killed. According to police reports, Marilou's husband, Jorge Jose Jorge Sr., stated that he left for work around 5:30 a.m. that day, leaving Marilou and their son at home. However, this timeline conflicted with witness statements indicating that their son, Jorge Jose Jorge Jr., was seen driving the family car around the same time. Police faced challenges in gathering information as family members were reportedly uncooperative during the investigation. Chief Inspector Ronald Perilla, who's one of the lead investigators of this incident, noted discrepancies in statements provided by the husband and son, leading investigators to suspect further involvement from family members.
Given the fact that the victim's husband and son were uncooperative with the authorities, charges of obstruction of justice were filed against Jorge Jose Jorge Sr. because he allegedly prevented police from conducting a thorough investigation at their home following the discovery of his wife Marilou's body. Specifically, when investigators sought to gather more information, Jorge Sr. had his lawyers confront the police, effectively barring them from entering the house. This led to the victim's younger brother, Roel Mandapat, to file parricide charges against his nephew, 20-year-old Jorge Jose Jorge Jr., which two witnesses confirmed to have seen him around the time Marilou Jorge's body was being moved. However, the motive was unclear, but police suspect that family disagreements may have been the root cause leading to this gruesome incident.
We all know that not everyone has good relationships with our families. In fact, we can never avoid disagreements with our families from time to time. However, may this episode serve as a reminder that family, whether perfect or not, is something that is permanently embedded for the rest of our lives. Minor or major disagreements should never be a reason to kill other people, especially with family members that we are having conflicts with. This holiday season, may your days be filled with warmth, joy, and perhaps a little intrigue. We look forward to bringing you more captivating true crime stories in the new year. Happy holidays from all of us at the PH Murder Stories team. Thank you for listening to PH Murder Stories.
If you like this episode, give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
You can also support our show on Patreon. Any amount you donate would benefit our team to keep doing what we love, which is to provide more true crime episodes for our listeners. Link in the description.
For further updates from our show, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at PH Murder Stories. And subscribe to our YouTube channel at PH Murder Stories.
This podcast may be based on true events with names, characters, and incidents that are either products of the creator's imagination or used fictitiously. Any similarity to real individuals or events is coincidental.